What if the only way to keep loving someone was to disappear from their life forever? What if every gift you sent in silence carried the weight of words you were too afraid to speak? What if one accidental glance across a crowded room tore open every secret you had buried to protect the man you still loved? Beckett stared at the plain brown box on his kitchen counter in his small Brooklyn apartment, the morning light slicing through the blinds like it was trying to expose him. He had wrapped it 3 times already, each layer tighter than the last, as if the extra paper could hide the truth inside. A first-edition copy of The Great Gatsby, the same book Isaiah had read aloud to him on their last night together 5 years ago, the spine still carrying the faint coffee stain from when Beckett had knocked over a mug laughing at one of Isaiah's terrible jokes. No note. No return address. Just a Los Angeles postmark that would arrive in 3 days if the tracking was honest. He sealed the box, wrote the address from memory: Isaiah Rivera, 1427, Maplewood Drive, Los Angeles, California, and felt the familiar knot in his chest tighten. 5 years since the breakup, 5 years since Isaiah's father had stood in their shared dorm room and said the words that still echoed: "This isn't who we are." Beckett had watched Isaiah choose family over everything that night, had walked away without fighting because he thought love meant protecting the other person from pain. Now he sent these gifts every few months: books, vinyl records, a scarf in Isaiah's favorite color. Always anonymous, always just enough to say, "I remember," without ever saying, "I'm still here." The subway ride to his advertising job in Manhattan felt longer than usual. Beckett scrolled through his phone, pretending to check emails while his mind replayed the night they met. Freshman orientation at NYU, Isaiah laughing too loud at a terrible icebreaker game, his smile catching the fluorescent lights like it was made for them. They had fallen fast and hard, 2 boys from different worlds. Beckett the quiet artist from Ohio, Isaiah the golden boy athlete from a strict Colombian family in Miami, building a life in secret until the secret became too heavy. At the office, his coworker Mia slid a coffee across his desk. "You look like you didn't sleep again. Still sending those mystery packages?" She had guessed months ago, but never pushed. Beckett shrugged, the lie feeling heavier than the truth. Just helping a friend. He spent the day designing billboards for a pride campaign he secretly hated because it felt like celebrating something he had surrendered. By evening he was back home, staring at the empty spot where Isaiah's hoodie used to hang. He told himself this was enough. Loving from a distance, protecting Isaiah from the fallout of being gay in a family that still called it a phase. Across the country, Isaiah stood in his sunlit Los Angeles kitchen, slicing avocados for breakfast when the doorbell rang. The delivery driver was already gone, leaving only the plain box. Isaiah recognized the handwriting instantly, even though it wasn't signed. His hands shook as he opened it. The Gatsby book. The exact same edition. He sat on the floor right there, back against the fridge, and let the tears come. Whoever was sending these knew him too well, knew the exact songs he missed, the exact memories he tried to forget. He had built a new life here, steady job at a tech startup, Sunday dinners with cousins who never asked why he never brought anyone home, a carefully constructed closet that kept his father's disapproval at bay. But every gift cracked that door a little wider. He texted his best friend Lena. Another one came. Same person. "I think I'm losing my mind." Her reply was immediate. "Maybe it's time to find out who it is before it finds you." Isaiah stared at the book and whispered to the empty room. "Beckett, if this is you, please stop. I can't keep pretending it doesn't hurt." The weeks blurred. Beckett sent a vinyl of their favorite album Next, Miles Davis, kind of blue, wrapped in the same brown paper. Isaiah played it every night, letting the trumpet notes fill the apartment he had decorated to look nothing like the one they once shared. At work, Beckett pitched ideas for a new campaign about hidden stories. His boss loved it, never knowing the story was his own. Isaiah started searching online for the sender, checking return addresses that led nowhere, until one night he found a tiny clue. The postmark always came from Brooklyn zip codes. Brooklyn, where Beckett had said he was moving after graduation. The conference invitation arrived in both their inboxes the same week: an advertising summit in Chicago, neutral ground, 3 days of panels and networking. Beckett almost declined. Isaiah almost declined. Neither did. Chicago in October felt like a city holding its breath. Beckett stepped off the plane at O'Hare with his carry-on and the same nervous energy he used to feel before every date with Isaiah. The hotel lobby was packed with industry people in smart blazers and forced smiles. He checked in, grabbed his badge, and told himself he would stay invisible. Isaiah arrived 2 hours later, suitcase wheels clicking across the marble floor like a countdown. He spotted Beckett immediately, same dark hair, same slight hunch of the shoulders as if he were still trying to make himself smaller. Their eyes locked across the registration desk. Beckett's face went pale. Isaiah's coffee cup nearly slipped from his hand. Neither moved. The crowd flowed around them like nothing had happened, but everything had. Isaiah was the first to speak, voice low and steady. Beckett, just the name, 5 years compressed into 2 syllables. Beckett managed a nod. Isaiah, didn't know you'd be here. The lie tasted like metal. They stood there in the middle of the lobby while strangers bumped past, the air thick with everything unsaid. Isaiah's eyes flicked to the conference bag slung over Beckett's shoulder. We need to talk. Not here. Beckett followed him to a quiet corner near the elevators, heart hammering so loud he was sure the whole hotel could hear it. Isaiah pulled the Gatsby book from his bag, the one that had arrived 2 weeks earlier. Explain this. Beckett stared at the cover like it might open and swallow him. I don't know what you're talking about. The denial came automatic, the same reflex he had used for years. Isaiah's laugh was short and bitter. Don't. Just don't. The vinyl last month, the scarf in April, the coffee mug with the cracked handle that only you would remember. It's you, Beckett. It's always been you. Beckett's knees felt weak. He leaned against the wall, the secret he had guarded like a wound suddenly bleeding in public. I never meant for you to know. I needed you to know I never stopped caring. Without dragging you back into everything your family. My family, Isaiah cut in, voice cracking. My family is the reason I left you. My father still thinks if he prays hard enough, I'll marry a nice girl and forget this ever happened. And you've been sending me pieces of us like some ghost. Do you have any idea what that does to me? People were starting to glance their way. Beckett grabbed Isaiah's elbow and pulled him toward the stairwell. They climbed 2 flights in silence, footsteps echoing like accusations. When they reached the landing, Beckett finally spoke the truth he had practiced in his head 1,000 times. I sent them because saying goodbye properly would have killed me. I thought if I stayed invisible, you could move on without the guilt, without the risk. Isaiah set the book on the concrete step and sat beside it. You think I moved on? I have a job, an apartment, a life that looks perfect on paper. But every time one of those boxes arrives, I spend days remembering how safe I felt with you. How seen. And then I hate myself for still wanting that. The conference schedule beeped on both their phones, opening keynote in 10 minutes. They ignored it. For the first time in 5 years they sat in the same space without pretending. Beckett reached out, hesitated, then rested his hand on Isaiah's knee. I'm sorry. For the gifts. For the silence. For everything. Isaiah covered Beckett's hand with his own. Don't be sorry. Just tell me the truth from now on. All of it. That night, they skipped the welcome dinner and walked along the Chicago River, coats pulled tight against the wind. Beckett told him about the nights he almost bought a plane ticket to L.A. Isaiah admitted he had kept every gift in a locked drawer, unable to throw them away. They didn't kiss. They didn't need to. The honesty was intimate enough. The next morning, the conference felt like a parallel universe. Beckett presented his campaign idea to a room full of strangers while Isaiah sat 3 rows back, watching with an expression Beckett couldn't read. During the Q&A, a woman asked about authentic representation. Beckett's answer came out steadier than he expected. Sometimes the most authentic thing is admitting what you've been hiding, even from yourself. His eyes found Isaiah's. The room applauded. Only they knew the real meaning. Lunch was catered in the ballroom. They sat at opposite ends of a long table at first. Then Isaiah moved his plate closer without asking. Their knees brushed under the linen. Beckett's sister called midway through dessert, video chat, her face filling the screen. Hey you, how's Chicago treating my favorite brother? Beckett angled the phone so Isaiah stayed out of frame, but Isaiah leaned in anyway and waved. The silence on the other end was loud. Wait, Isaiah. Beckett's sister blinked. You too. Beckett nodded once. It's complicated. She smiled the same protective smile she had worn the night of the breakup. Complicated is better than pretending. Call me later. Both of you. That afternoon's panel was on work-life balance. Isaiah spoke about the pressure of family expectations versus personal happiness. His voice never wavered, but his hand trembled on the podium. Beckett sat in the audience feeling every word like a mirror. When the moderator opened the floor for questions, Beckett raised his hand. What happens when the family you love asks you to choose between them and the person who makes you whole? The room went quiet. Isaiah met his gaze across the microphones. You choose yourself, he answered, and hope the people who love you learn to choose you too. After the panel, they escaped to the hotel roof deck, city lights sparkling below. Isaiah pulled out his phone and showed Beckett the drawer at home, the gifts lined up like museum pieces. I kept every single one. I told myself it was closure. It was never closure. Beckett traced the edge of the Gatsby cover with his thumb. I sent them because I was scared to say I still love you. Out loud. In daylight. Where the world could hear. Isaiah turned to face him fully. Say it now. Beckett's throat tightened, but the words came anyway. I still love you, Isaiah. I never stopped. Not for one day. The wind carried the confession across the rooftops. Isaiah's answer was softer. I never stopped either. I just got really good at pretending I had. They stayed up talking until the sky turned gray. Beckett told him about the nights he scrolled Isaiah's social media, liking nothing, just watching. Isaiah confessed he had driven past Beckett's old dorm on every trip back to New York. The honesty felt like oxygen after years underwater. The third day of the conference brought the storm. Isaiah's older brother Marco called at breakfast, video from Miami, their father visible in the background. Dad saw your panel clip online. Someone tagged the family. He wants to know why you're talking about choosing yourself like that. Isaiah's face went tight. Beckett stepped out of frame, but stayed close enough to hear. Marco's voice dropped. You know how he is. He's already praying. He's already talking about sending you to that retreat again. Isaiah ended the call and stared at the blank screen. He thinks if he erases me being gay, everything goes back to normal. Beckett reached for his hand right there in the hotel restaurant. You don't have to erase anything. Not anymore. Isaiah squeezed back. I'm tired of erasing. But I'm terrified of losing them. That afternoon, they skipped the final sessions and walked Millennium Park. The bean reflected their distorted images, two men side by side, finally visible. Isaiah spoke about the gifts again. Every time one arrived, I felt seen and punished at the same time. Like you were reminding me what I gave up. Beckett stopped under the sculpture. I was reminding myself what I lost. I thought if I stayed invisible, I could keep you safe. I was wrong. They sat on a bench near the fountain. Isaiah pulled out the scarf from the April package, soft gray wool, the color of the hoodie Beckett used to wear. I wore this once to a family dinner. My mom asked where I got it. I lied and said a coworker. She smiled like she believed me, but I think she knew. Beckett touched the fringe. I bought it the day I heard your dad was in the hospital. I wanted you to have something warm when everything felt cold. The conversation turned to the future. Beckett's job in New York, Isaiah's life in L.A., two coasts, same fears. I can't ask you to move, Isaiah said. I won't ask you to hide again. Beckett answered, I'm done hiding. If you want to try, I'll meet you halfway, literally. Chicago, New York, L.A., wherever we land. Isaiah laughed for the first time in days. Halfway sounds perfect. That night, they ordered room service and talked until the city quieted. No pressure, no promises, just the slow rebuilding of trust. Beckett fell asleep on the couch while Isaiah watched him. The gift box from 5 years of silence finally opened between them. The flight home felt different. Beckett landed in New York to an empty apartment that suddenly felt too quiet. He unpacked and immediately started a new package, this time with a note. Short. Honest. I'm done sending secrets. If you want me, I'm here. All of me. He mailed it before he could change his mind. Isaiah landed in L.A. and found the box waiting on his porch the next morning. He read the note 3 times, then called Beckett on video. They talked for 2 hours, about therapy, about coming out to extended family, about the real work ahead. Isaiah's father had left a voicemail. We need to talk. As a family. Isaiah played it for Beckett. I'm going to answer him. Not as the son he wants, but as the man I am. Beckett's voice was steady. I'll be right here when you do. The weeks that followed were messy. Isaiah flew to Miami for the conversation that had been 5 years coming. His father cried, raged, then sat in silence for a long time. "I don't understand it," he finally said. "But I don't want to lose my son." It wasn't acceptance, but it was a door cracked open. Isaiah called Beckett from the airport afterward, voice raw. "He didn't kick me out." "That's something." Beckett answered, "That's everything for today." Beckett's sister came to Brooklyn for the weekend. She hugged him hard. "You two better not mess this up again." "I like Isaiah." They cooked together and laughed about old times, the kind of normal Beckett had stopped believing he could have. He sent Isaiah a photo of the three of them at dinner, his sister, himself, and an empty chair where Isaiah's plate sat. The caption, "Saving this seat for you." Isaiah started seeing a therapist who specialized in queer Latino men. Beckett joined a support group for partners of people navigating family rejection. They texted every night, shared playlists, argued about which city had better pizza. The distance hurt, but the honesty healed. Then came the invitation. Isaiah's company was opening a New York office. He could transfer. Beckett read the message 3 times before he replied with one word: "Come." Isaiah arrived in New York the week before Christmas with 2 suitcases and the same nervous smile from their first date. Beckett met him at JFK, heart in his throat. They didn't kiss in the terminal. Too many eyes, but the hug lasted long enough for strangers to notice and smile. In the cab, Isaiah rested his head on Beckett's shoulder. "I kept every gift. I'm keeping this one too." Their first night together in the Brooklyn apartment felt like coming home. They cooked pasta, played the old Miles Davis record, and talked until the sky turned pink. No secrets, no distance, just 2 men choosing each other in the daylight. Isaiah's father called on Christmas Eve. The conversation was short and careful, but he asked about Beckett by name. Tell him, I said hello." It was small, but it was progress. Beckett's sister sent a group text with a photo of the 4 of them, her husband, Beckett, Isaiah, captioned, "Family looks good on you too." The months that followed were ordinary in the best way. Isaiah settled into the new office. Beckett finished the Pride campaign and made sure it featured real couples, including a quiet nod to their own story. They argued about whose turn it was to do laundry, celebrated small wins, held each other on the hard days when family texts still stung. The gifts stopped because they no longer needed to speak in code. One spring evening in Central Park, they sat on the same bench where the conference memory lived. Beckett pulled a small box from his pocket, not anonymous this time. Inside was a simple silver band engraved with the date of their reunion. "Not asking for forever yet," he said. "Just asking for the chance to build it." Isaiah slipped it on, eyes shining. "You already gave me forever the day you stopped hiding." They walked home hand in hand under the streetlights, 2 men who had learned that love wasn't about protecting each other from the world. It was about facing the world together. In this story of hidden gifts and unexpected reunions, I saw how silence can become its own cage. Beckett and Isaiah didn't find an easy ending. They found the courage to choose truth over comfort, love over fear. The real lesson isn't that every family will understand or every secret will stay safe. It's that living half a life to protect others only hurts everyone longer. When you finally stop sending pieces of yourself in the dark and step fully into the light, you discover the people worth keeping will walk beside you. And sometimes, the greatest gift isn't the package you mail. It's the person you become when you're finally brave enough to be seen.